we're going to live longer, we're going to be more healthy, because we're realigning back with what nature is doing. And nature hasn't changed. Nature is using the life force and always has. It's just that humanity, if we decided to play this and shut down our right hemisphere so that we could maybe develop, it's free will, we can develop certain aspects that are very beneficial. But now I see us coming back where we're going to balance the left and right hemisphere. And this is the beginning of more kind of a return to this knowledge, this information. But if we truly want to become sovereign entities and have mastery, mastery over matter, mastery over the physical, then we need to go back and look at how the lattice is operating, and so that we can now use visualization, meditations, things like this to help realign ourselves.
I'm finding this really fascinating, and the implications of this connecting. Ultimately, what you're saying is that balancing of the left and right hemisphere and that connection with 0 point energy or source or God, however you like to look at that. And, the implications of this, firstly, something that Tesla was looking at in terms of free energy as well, but also in terms of our systems. So many people are disillusioned at the moment, and there is this potential for the creation of new systems, really, with this new understanding. Is that something you can speak to?
Yeah, so I think as we understand, so the etheric lattice is not, so it applies to not only the human body, but also all of our technology. Because if you understand, I firmly believe if you understand the lattice and the flow of energy, and that it opens the door to a natural energy. And I think the ancients were using natural energy, not artificial energy. Much of the energy that we're generating today is not healthy. It's not healthy for the planet. But we are surrounded and we are swimming in energy. It's all around us. It's like air. And we just need to remember how to connect to this energy source. Because we're talking about, with this scalar physics, we're talking about what's called 0 point energy, free energy. And this is all connected. It's connected to your health. It's connected to energy that could run devices, cars, houses, and it's all free. We can understand how to reconnect to it. There's essentially unlimited sources of energy. No more electric bills, no more gas bills. These are just things that we are replacing some of our older energetic systems with ones that are going to be new, and you're going to see a revolution in the technologies, and that's exciting. That's very exciting, and I believe it starts here with our understanding of this etheric lattice, and there's much work to be done on it. As I remember this and aspects, there's just information that's continued to come to me.
I find this absolutely fascinating, because what you've spoken about earlier, it was kind of like a remembering, and this is New Earth Co-Creators, and a lot of people come on and we're talking about remembering our ancient wisdom. And the sense that I'm getting is that a lot of this information, it didn't just come from Tesla, it was encoded in the ancient pyramids. And would you say that some of these sacred geometries were able to pull that life force, and they had an understanding of this work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I use Tesla because Tesla is in our, as far as our generation, of course, he passed away in 1943. He's the last individual that I can pinpoint, I can point to and say he had this knowledge. This knowledge goes way back. It's much older than Tesla, and it is been on the planet before, and I can see it going back into ancient Egypt. Um, and so that aspect is very exciting. And the other aspect is why, what's going on with humanity. I think humanity, everybody, the universe is watching humanity, and they're it's like this experiment, and they're waiting to see if we can become multidimensional in these physical avatars that we have. And this is something that I think has not been done before in the universe, and many others are very interested to see if we can pull this off. And I think we're pulling it off by we have to reconnect back to the source. So the connection here is that if we're going to reconnect back to the source, and we have to have a knowledge or a remembrance of what the lattice, this etheric lattice looks like, how it operates, so that we can implement it and integrate it. And that starts with the awareness of how it works.
Can you briefly share your slides on the hieroglyphs and the geometries behind this?
Okay, I didn't explain this, but we can come back to this if you want. This, let me just explain this very quickly. This is a keychain that came from the Sagrada Familia. Okay, so this is in Spain. And there's knowledge on the planet about this 33 lattice that I showed you. Well, this is a keychain, and if you look through here, it doesn't matter whether you go horizontally or vertically or diagonally. The numbers all add to 33. So even the core here, and I told you that 33, as I showed you, this is the base frequency of the etheric lattice of the nodes as you move around it. So I can come back to that later. So a little bit on the ancient hieroglyphs. So this is the weighing of the heart hieroglyph. And this hieroglyph is describing where you can see it's got a scale. There's many of the gods and goddesses are in this hieroglyph. There's 7 that are over here. Anubis is here with the jackal head. You have also Thoth, the scribe, with the ibis head. We have what's called an initiate that's going through this evaluation process of like the soul. And we have Horus that's here. This other chamber here, we have Osiris and the 2 sisters, Isis and Nephthys, are here. But encrypted in this hieroglyph, and then there's 14 initiates up here. There are very important numerology is very important in here. There's like 33 scrolls that go across here, but I refer to these as scrolls. And so if you notice and you pay very close attention, the Anubis appears twice in this, and then Ani here, the initiate, appears twice as well. So that's 22. 22 times 33 is 726. In my scalar system, that is the tetrahedron. You can look at 33 times these 7 individuals here that are here, and that will give you the number 231. And if you add its mirror, also its mirror addition, so you take 231 and you add it to 132, its mirror, you get the scalar circle at 363. And I could go on and on about these initiates and the colors and how these numbers will plug right back into the etheric lattice that I was showing you, and important shells that show up, the 1089 shells as well. So there's so much information. The ancient Egyptians encrypted into their hieroglyphs the scalar physics, and it's represented in their numerology. And that is just really fascinating and I can take this thing apart, and there's so much more. I'm not even showing you, but a very small fraction of it, and I mention it in the book. I'll make a separate video so we can really go deeper into it for those that want the numbers. And so it's clear to me that they were aware of this entire system. Now, why did they encrypt it? That's a whole nother probably conversation of why they would encrypt it into the numerology, but they clearly were doing this. And also, I noticed the Osiris, the seven gates that are referred to, the Osiris gates. I can map this back. Also, this is a picture that comes out of Karnak in Egypt. You can see there are seven doors, or seven, sometimes referred to as gates. This is associated with, I can put this back onto the etheric lattice and how the energy moves in a spiral that's a heptagonal based spiral. So the number 7 and 11 were incredibly important in the Egyptian culture. A lot of people see numbers like 1111 on the clock and they don't know what that means. We've got 711. These ratios are in the Great Pyramid for the square base versus the height. And it's all about making physical structures that connect back to the etheric lattice to pull the energy to those locations. This is what they were doing. The ancients were actually, they understood, if I could give you a couple of examples of why angle shape is so important. So underneath the, if you go into Egypt, there are actually streams of water that will run and they cross at specific angles. And these angles then, if they're the correct angles of the mathematics, will generate a vortex that will come up. And in the center of the vortex, you can walk into that area and it will balance your energy. So if you have an organ that's overactive or underactive, it will balance the geometry within those cells, the tissue, and the individual will have healing. And so they were using these power spots, and they were building their architecture, integrating the concepts of the etheric lattice, the dimensions and the angles into their physical structures, just so they could pull the energy to resonance, the life force to those locations.
That's so fascinating. I had Maria Wheatley on the podcast talking of the energy of sacred sites, and she spoke about this as well. So I'm going to put the link to that video in the video description as well. So Craig, this has been absolutely amazing. I feel like we could have had 10 podcasts. I feel like we're just skimming the surface here. There's just so much to it. And so please do check out Craig's amazing YouTube channel, where he's going into great depth about the mathematics and breaking each chapter of the book down so you can really understand it deeply. Yeah, so this is on both my channel and Craig's channel. So just click on the 363 code tab, and then you can subscribe to Craig's channel on YouTube as well as mine. And yeah, so thank you so much, Craig. And just let us know how people can find you. If you have a website, how they can find your book. I'm going to put the link to the book in the video description as well. So let us know if you have any last thoughts. I'm curious to ask you, why now?